Hello and welcome back. It's that time again. It's time for a training game. The second one for the week. If you watched the previous one, you'll know that I really struggled with my time management. I ended up losing the game, so despite the time I spent, and possibly because of the way I spent the time, I did end up finding myself in a very bad position. So I ended up losing that game. My rating currently is actually below 1700. We'll try and remediate that today. My goal is obviously to work on my time management today, and obviously also to not make any big blunders. Hopefully, if the position becomes very complex, I'll be in a position where I actually have time to try and pass through some of the complications. I'm also feeling a bit tired at the moment. Fair enough, I've got night shifts happening at work, and that's what happens, but I still want to play this game at this time because when it comes to the tournament, there are going to be days where I'm tired. If I'm able to go at all, it might be after a big day of work. It might be, whatever the case is. You might not feel like playing, but these are the conditions under which the tournament's going to be played. And that's what practice is all about. So without further ado, thanks for being here. Let's play this game. Searching for an opponent, and we're on against a 1742. We have the black pieces. So we'll wait for the first move to begin. Against d4, I'm going to play d5. And against e4, I'm going to play c5. Against anything else, well, we'll wait and see. It looks like d4 is on the board, so we'll go with d5. I'm not sure if I'll play an accepted. If he plays a Queen's Gambit, I might accept the Gambit, or if I'll decline it. It's kind of hard to say. I think I'll decline it. It's a bit more solid, I suppose. Or will I accept it to try and get a little bit of familiarity with a line that most people may not be so familiar with? I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this decision. I'm going to decline it. Nice and simple. Queen's Gambit declined. I didn't spend too much time on that decision. I'm slightly ahead on the clock, and that's a nice place to be. I think we can continue on in that fashion, making just standard solid moves to start with. If bishop g5, I'm pretty sure bishop e7 is a nice way to play. We could maybe even play h6 if we wanted to prevent bishop g5 ideas. But again, in the interest of just playing something that's standard, I'm pretty certain this is a standard idea. Can't be bad. Don't want to spend too much time making these trivial decisions when I know later on there are going to be critical decisions. And that's where I'm going to spend the time today. All right, so the bishop comes out this way. So h6 may not have had a lot of use to it anyway, so let's castle. Again, probably can't be a bad move at this point in time. I will have to start thinking about what I want to do next. Am I going to play something like this and go for c5? That would be very normal. I could also maybe play this g6 and fianchetto the bishop. Regardless, I'm going to put the knight here first. I think that's okay. This is attacked twice, but I've got it defended twice. He's now that he's brought his bishop out, I think it's the normal time if you wanted to play a move like taking here, because then he has to move the bishop again. I'm going to do that. I could still play c5 if I wish. Would I play c5 there? I think so. I think that is a normal way to go here. Other options do include this idea of b6 and bishop b7 after he probably castles. And maybe then c5. It's, I'm not sure. This is one of those decisions where maybe it matters, maybe it doesn't. If he plays something like this, this is where the tiredness comes in. I'm finding it very hard to focus on what I would do. So do you know what? I'm actually going to play for this idea. And he's going after this pawn immediately. But not only the pawn, he the square itself is something that he's also going after. And that's an interesting idea. But c5 protects the pawn, and if he lands on the square with his knight, I guess my rook can move away, but then his knight gets to move, say, here, and he has a discovery there on my rook at the same time as he attacks my queen. So let's say I take back. Not only does he also have this checking idea, so I don't love that. Maybe I come here with my knight to defend this pawn. He gives up the bishop. I take back, and again this pawn is going to fall. So I don't love that. Maybe there's a move like this to interrupt his bishop. But he takes. If he were to take with the bishop, I take back, and even if he just takes back like this, he's now attacking this pawn twice. So this feels like it hasn't gone well. Maybe I've rushed. And now, of course, I'm taking my time, but is it now too late to bother with trying to take my time? Well, possibly. One thing I could do is maybe put my bishop here. If I put my bishop there, he jumps his knight in to take a pawn. Well, then I take the bishop. And if he then takes the rook, I take the rook. And I've got a bishop and a knight for the rook and the pawn, and I think that's probably not too bad. And if he takes here with his bishop, well, then I suppose I can put my queen here. And I'm threatening to take the knight, and when he takes back, to take the bishop. So I think this is going to be the move. He'll probably put his rook here to defend the bishop. But if he does that, then I immediately take, and this pressure is somewhat relieved. Then I can probably get in this c5 idea. So I think that's going to have to be basically out of necessity the way we do this. Hopefully that's not a big blunder. Hopefully I haven't made a blunder. I did spend time there, but I think I absolutely needed to. That was an example of a critical moment. Maybe I rushed by a critical moment on the move or two beforehand, in which I maybe could have prevented this whole idea, but it didn't seem like I'd done anything wrong. This idea actually came a little bit out of nowhere, so now I'm going to follow up with my plan. My threat is to take the knight and then take this. Meanwhile, if he just retreats the bishop, well, I take a bishop here. So, and again, if he comes here, well, I think then I can take this. He takes back, and I am down a pawn. I also maybe can think about providing a check like that for what that's worth. Possibly not much. Unfortunately, I can't take the bishop immediately because this knight is quite annoying. But maybe this check has value. Maybe this check has value. I could try something like this, and when he takes back, I could... No, I don't think that's going to be particularly nice. All right, this is another moment where I probably need to think. Take, he takes, I'm simply down a pawn. Simple as that. I might even have to put my queen here to get out of problems on the, like when he moves his bishop away and has discoveries against my queen, which I may not want to deal with. This move, he might even just be able to step his king up, I think is what he might do. What can I then do? Maybe moving this knight here to attack this bishop. Is there any sense in that? He takes here, we then take here with check. I kind of think that's nice just to have as an option. Yeah, definitely using a lot of time here, but kind of I feel like I need to. So what are my options? I can insert a check. He could block it with his knight, but then I get to bring my knight in and, you know, I probably might win a little bit of material there. Maybe. My other option, if I'm not going to do that, I mean, I could take here, he takes back, but then he's just got the bishop pair and an extra pawn, a rook that's just aligned with me dangerously. maybe this idea is alright, because if he does block with the knight, then I can come here with a tempo. Although he then just castles. It might just be the best that I can do. So, I'm going to spend a bit more time because this is mission critical. This is mission critical. Check, and he comes here. At least then I might be able to take here one day with a check if this bishop ever moves. And that might allow me to play this. Attacking this bishop. If he takes, then I go check. If he comes back, this is not nice. I don't like this. What if I just move my queen out of the way? Don't love that either. I wish I could just take here, and then take here. But I can't because of this guy. But I need to come up with something. Trying to come up with something. The game just has to go on. So, I didn't even try to do that, but that's maybe what I was going to play anyway. Get my queen out of the line of fire. Okay, I'm down a pawn, but my queen is on something of a diagonal. Maybe I should have thrown in this check first just to disrupt him from just simply castling, which is probably what he's going to do. And he's just really in a better position. But what else can I do? It's not a nice position here at all for me, but it just is what it is. Maybe now I can take, he takes, and I can play a6 hitting the bishop and maybe just expand a little bit. Now that my queen is defending this pawn, I realize my knight was defending the pawn all along anyway. But in the previous move, had I gone take, and then played a6, I think he could have taken here anyway because it would have been an attack on my queen. So it just is what it is, and we now just need to make the most of this in whatever way we can. We could maybe attack this bishop. If we attack this bishop, I think this bishop just has to sort of move. But our knight there is not really that amazing. What if we bring a rook over to attack so that we can go take, and take? I think that's just what we're going to have to do here. Which rook do we want to use? Or do we want to take? This is forcing. We should definitely look at it, but he probably takes. I think let's do this. Let's attack this guy. Putting some pressure on. And we'll just try and keep this game going because it's no way is this game over yet. We just need to keep our wits about us. Maybe our bishop here is not doing amazing. We are somewhat x-raying a rook. If this bishop moves, would we have any tactics about taking this when he takes back, taking this? I mean, I guess we would. So it kind of looks like this bishop might have trouble moving. Unless he moves here where he attacks our bishop. That might be what he does. But even there, can we take? He takes us, attacking our rook. We take here. He takes here, winning our rook. But then we take here, winning his rook. And then let's say he takes this rook, we take. And then this bishop retreats. So he still holds his dark squared bishop. And he's won this, this, and this. Meanwhile, we are about to lose our light squared bishop. Or do we retreat our light squared bishop? Because otherwise we gain this and this only. Or did we win this as well? So let's calculate that again. So if he comes here, we do win this. We're up a piece. He takes a piece, we take a piece. He takes... All right, we'll look at that later because he's done something different. And I don't think it looks good, right? After we take, he takes. Attacking our rook. So that's basically an even trade. But he's attacking our rook. We take this. So that's an extra piece for us. He takes this. We take that. That's kind of also an even trade. This is obviously mission critical. Let's calculate. But I have a feeling this is all right for us. After we take, because he's attacking both of these guys, we can't really allow that. So after takes and he comes here, another option might be we can just move the rook. So let's start by taking. It seems the safest. And then we can decide whether we move the rook somewhere or whether we go for this kind of play. So this is going to be interesting. He takes here. Attacking the queen. Interesting. I think we just have to take that. He takes there. Now we can attack his queen. And when he takes back, we can move out of the way here with tempo. And that might be all right. Why not? I think. Why not? We are also having tempo against this pawn. So let's hit the queen. The queen probably will go somewhere where he defends this pawn. So maybe like here or here. But it seems like we've got a bit of counterplay now. We own the c-file, which is good. Maybe we can jump up here with a tempo on the bishop. And maybe the rook comes in one day, we put pressure on this guy. The queen can come in here and also lend support. Is there something brewing in that kind of a world? Maybe. We always need to watch the back rank. We haven't made any space for our king yet, so in future moves like h6 or g6 might come to mind. Let's see. Let's try and use our opponent's time. So he has made this move. This move seems very natural, so unless the fact that it does blunder the knight. So we can't really just blunder that knight. We need to do something else. Maybe we bring the queen up. If we bring the queen up, he can simply start attacking us. And that's not super nice for us, honestly speaking. So what else can we do? Something productive here. Something productive here is needed. Maybe even a move like this, but it blocks the queen. Doesn't look nice. The thing is it attacks the bishop, but the bishop just moves back here in that case. So I don't really love that notion very much. What if we come here to attack the bishop? And then we can sort of see what happens after that, potentially. What if we make Luft for our king? That could be an idea. If we do this, he takes... We can't take the rook, unfortunately. We could take this pawn, but I don't think we have anything after that. So I don't think that's going to work. We do still need to be quick here. What if we sacrifice a pawn? If he just takes, well, what was the point? I don't see the point in that. We could just simply come somewhere like this and say that we completely own this file. He can then actually attack our queen in a variety of ways, probably like this, but with our queen here, we can take, he takes. We can maybe put our knight here, but what's it really doing there? But this move is not too bad as a backup plan to just own the file. Question is, what are we doing after we're attacked? I guess our queen can come here, but then why not go there straight away because he attacks us? But he can't do that there because we would take, so... And similarly, after this, if he attacks us, can we then come here? Well, he still attacks us again. But, yeah, so after this and this, I think we have to take. He takes back. Then maybe this guy can come back around here, attack this bishop. But then what are we doing from there? So maybe from here we go actually to attack the bishop. Again, what are we doing? This is not looking good yet again. Need to come up with something. This might be the move, but I just don't like that he can attack our queen so easily. Don't like that he can attack the queen so easily. Yes, after this, what we could do is just come here. Infiltrate to the second row. If we get a trade up here, we're probably relatively happy, because this pawn he has to somehow defend, and he can absolutely defend it, but at least we have some activity. At least we have some activity there. And if he doesn't go for the queen trade, well, then our queen is actually allowing our knight to develop to a better square. I'm going to do it because I don't see anything better, and that's all there is. And if we continue on a little bit worse, we still have chances, as long as we're not a lot worse. As long as we're not a lot worse and we're not blundering anything huge. You know, he can't attack our queen with the rook because we own this file now, and that's what we have. Maybe for that reason, I shouldn't be quick to go for the queen trade, but really at this point, where else can I go? This is all, you know, I either give the file back, allow him to attack us and go nowhere. So I think now I'm sort of committed to this if he wants to go for it. All right, so he attacks the queen, and fair enough, but this was basically the plan anyway. If he comes here, he is going to have to probably either advance or defend this pawn one way or other. Something I could also do is I could come here. That's an interesting notion. Then if he tries to get this file, well, yes, he can. And we don't have much there, but I think we're safer with the queens off the board. No, this is another important moment, so we'll have another little think. We'll have another little think here. I like the fact that I can actually own the file now using this square that he's weakened by playing the previous move. It's now harder for him to attack us. So let's do this. Let's actually sit here where we're out of range of his pieces, but we still just own this file. He can't attack us with his queen, so I'm not going to offer him an easy queen trade for no reason. I don't think we need to be worried too much about the safety of our king. Yes, we do. However, there's no checkmate threat right here and now. We can defend things. Our knight's still doing well. And I think this now actually puts the ball in his court and says, keep going then. Come up with more good moves, rather than giving him just an easy queen trade, simplifying down to a position where, after all, he is a pawn up. So let's use the deficiency of his previous move, which is that he's relinquished control of this square, and therefore we're out of range of his knight. And let's continue on in this fashion. So if we take, he can take back probably with the bishop. And we then have to continue on from there, but we don't have to respond to this move. If he takes, we can then take if we want. But at the same time, we can maybe try and come up with something else productive. This move I don't like because it just drops the knight. Maybe this move is okay because it attacks the bishop. Remember, our knight is already defended, so the only problem with this move is that it drops the rook, so we can't do that. But after we take here, he takes, we're stepping into possible problems there with alignment, but not really because the pin goes two ways and we're attacking that. So maybe here we just take. I think here we may just have to take. And then our knight, we have to figure out what to do with it. Can we put it here, attacking this bishop again? Well, maybe. I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to end up in an endgame where we're a pawn down, but are we worse? I don't know. So I think if we come here, this bishop has to move somewhere. And then either we can just come back. So let's try this. Let's try this. Let's try this. The threat is to take the bishop, and when he takes, we take the pawn back, and we've regathered the pawn and hopefully equalized. Or he moves the bishop somewhere. Here would really be, or here would be the only safe squares, and then at the very least we can come back. At the very least we can come back, or we can keep it there, make some luft for our king, and then come back in future. So he comes here. We can attack that again, maybe even with our queen. I don't see why we shouldn't do it with the queen, except that we relinquish control of something like this. So we could do something like this here to attack this bishop again. We could certainly do something like this, and when the bishop, if he comes down here, then we might advance this pawn. Let's do this. I want to stay active. Let's attack the bishop. He comes all the way back here. Now he wants to get this move in, of course, and that's okay. That's all right. So we can prevent that in a sense. We can play this. He takes, we take. Again, we're attacking this pawn. And we're also attacking this pawn. So I quite like that. Let's now do this. Let's now do this. We've got a queen on the second rank, if nothing else. And that means maybe when we... Has he moved? No, he's still moving. So if he takes, we're going to take back. And I'm going to pre-move that because it's just obvious. We want to make sure we make the most of our remaining time. Although we're low on time, I think I've used my time quite well this game so far. My knight's not really doing anything, and in the future it might want to jump back. Now that I control this file myself, my knight might actually come and be more stable here and look to hop into this square in the future, or maybe this square. My king still doesn't have much breathing room here, so I might want to now play something like h6 or f6 or maybe g6. Something along those lines, h5 maybe. Maybe I could even play f5, put the knight behind, and then the knight can come sit up here. But let's see. In the meantime, I'm going to pre-move this. He goes after the knight. He goes after the knight. Now, I don't mind that. I can bring the knight back as planned. Is there anything else I can do? Can I take the queen? He takes. And then I take this pawn. Because if he takes, I go check. He moves. I take this, hitting this bishop. I don't think so because I only get two pawns there for the knight. It's worth considering though. Take, he takes. Take a pawn, give a knight, give a check, he moves. Take another pawn, he moves here. No, I don't think that's worth it. So I'm coming back to where I was. Okay, at least now when he takes, he's relinquished pressure. Well, he's pushed my knight away, so I've relinquished pressure on this square, which means he might have time to actually protect this pawn. But my knight can come back around now. He moves out of the way. So let's continue on in the fashion intended, I think. Let's go like this. Let's get our knight back onto this square where we want it. Should be careful about ideas like this. Should be very careful about ideas like this that open up an attack on the rook and also open up the diagonal towards my pretty vulnerable king. At the moment though, a queen's not enough to do it. The queen landing here is just going to be gobbled by my king. So that's okay for now. Ooh, but I missed this move. I missed the crap out of this move. The rook comes here. I can't take anymore because his bishop is doing a beautiful job there. And I've missed that entirely this whole time. By having my knight here though, I was hoping that this might come in handy, and it probably would have. He is now offering a queen trade. So maybe I should take him up on that because it seemed very dangerous otherwise. What I can also do here is just sink my knight in with a nice fork. I can sink the knight in with a nice fork. That essentially forces him to take. Then I take back. This is under attack. This is under attack. He's likely to move the attacked rook to defend the attacked pawn. And then my knight's not really doing much anymore. So it might be a matter here where I just need to go for the queen trade. I think I might just need to go for the queen trade here. But I don't need to do it like that. I can do it on my own terms. And what I mean by that, I think, is I'm going to make one of these pawn moves to make more room for my king. And I'm going to put a pawn actually onto a dark square. No, I'm going to play... gonna play h6. Gonna play h6. Just give myself a bit of breathing room. I've always got the option to take this if he goes after me like this, so that's fine. And if he takes me, well, then I'll take. In the meantime, I've used time to at least buy my king a bit of space. Setting my pawns up on dark squares. Not sure if that's really the way to go, but there we go. We've got a minute on the clock. We've got to play quick. We're going after this pawn. He's probably going to defend it. But then he would lose the other pawn. So I think I can take this now. I think I can take this now. And if he takes this, unless this is a blunder, if he takes this, well, I can take this. So did I just win the pawn back? I've also given the file, but my king's got a square to run to, so there's no back rank issues. My knight can also jump back if he decides to try and save his bishop, which he does. All right. Now my knight can jump, for example, here. And I've won the pawn back. I've won the pawn back. My knight has a couple of squares it can go to. And we have a potential trade here. We have a potential trade on our hands, after which there's a check. He comes here. I don't have to do anything. This is also just defended as it currently stands. So I'm going to just do this. Just going to do this. Just going to do this. If he wants to take, I'll take. We're going to have a knight versus a bishop, so probably a better endgame for him. Question is, can he get his bishop around to attack my pawns? But if I put these on light squares, it might be difficult for him. Hopefully I can hold this off as a draw. So I'm going to come after his bishop straight away. And as the bishop moves, I come here. He then has to come here. Okay, he can go there. That's all right. He can go there. Now, I've got to be careful about my knight. So maybe I should actually bring my knight back now. And then if he goes after this, I can come here. Let's do that. We're also keeping his king at bay with this nice move. At least temporarily. So we've put up a good defense. Let's keep it going. He's got a lot more time than us, unfortunately, but we've had to use time in this game. It's been really important. All right, do we have any nice forks? We've got, that's kind of the beauty of a knight. If we can play a move like this, he takes, we take, he comes here. I don't think we want to do that. Is this going to be a big problem? Maybe. Maybe. What about we attack the bishop like this? That's a fork, is it not? All right, he can take this, but we can take this, and after he takes, we can take this, and then he takes here. Those are possibilities. Yes, I will grant that those are possibilities. After take, and he takes, I take, he takes. My knight doesn't look crash hot. I can come here. I'm going to do it because I don't see what else. And also by getting rid of pawns on the opposite side of the board and making the remaining sort of game a little bit more compact, I think that benefits my knight because it doesn't have to surveil such a large area anymore. And I noticed that my knight can still be brought back into the game at this point. And if everything's nice and tight, it should be hard for him to win. And I've got a forking possibility with the... It's like, say, for example, he comes here. Boom, check, and I'm going to win the game. So he actually has to probably be more careful than me. As long as I keep my pawns defended, I should be hunky-dory. So let's come here. Let's come here. We still cannot switch off in this position. We probably want to put our pawn up onto this square, I would imagine. But do we want to think about that? We can come here where we attack this pawn. Let's come here. Try and cut his pawn, his bishop off and make it sort of relatively useless. Let's bring our king up. Let's bring our king up so we can bring our knight back. Now this is a full-on game. This is, we're now in an end game that requires a lot of time to calculate properly, so it's going to have to be on instinct, essentially. All right, he's coming closer in. We may have to just, if he wants to trade, we trade. And look how even, it's just perfectly symmetrical position. So if he trades, is this just a draw, or does he somehow, is he winning like 100 plus 100 to white? I don't know. I don't see what else we can do here. Been trying to defend this entire game, and that's all I'm going to continue to do. I think I'm just going to bring my knight around because there's nothing he can do here to hurt me. So if I bring my knight around, and we can see what happens with that. Where do we want to bring the knight around to? How about right here? We have to be a little bit careful. We have to be a bit careful that we don't want him to land here with his bishop, I don't think. Maybe we should even just... Yep, this is really definitely a difficult task. But if we come here and he lands there with the bishop, we come here, the bishop has to move away. So I like this also because it's just reversible. It's just a reversible move. If he starts pushing his pawns, I'm just going to sort of hope and pray that all these pawns should cancel each other out. And hopefully I can hold on for a draw. So let's see what happens next. Let's attack this bishop. Maybe we can even stick the knight here for what it's worth, but let's just attack the bishop. And if he comes here, we push him back, for example, which he does. So let's push him away. He can come here, we just come back, and if we have a repetition, we have a repetition. Not necessarily a problem here for us. We could also come here, attacking this pawn. At this point in time, that might be really nice. At this point in time, that could be pretty nice. Got to be careful though, because if we come here with the knight and he comes here, well, we can attack him like this. This is a bit crazy, guys. I'm going to keep it steady. I'm coming here. I don't want to risk anything stupid. It's probably a drawn position. There's no need to do anything stupid here. There's just no need to do anything stupid. So let's come here. We've got moves that we can repeat, and there's nothing he can do, I don't think, at this point. Yes, he's getting a very active king, and that's a bit scary. Can he do anything with it, though? And I don't believe so. And I don't believe he can. So why don't we even... Is it stupid to play h6? Maybe, but he can never attack the pawn with his bishop. So it should be a relatively safe pawn there. Why don't I just come here, buy a little bit of time? Is he going to sack? Maybe, but I don't think that should work, right? Maybe it will, maybe it won't. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. I can attack the bishop like this and just come back. I can just do whatever I want, essentially. So let's attack the bishop. I'm not sure if we can attack the bishop. Let's attack the bishop. Not sure if this is good, because if he takes, we take, he's actually got check. But I come here. So he moves. Ooh. Scheiße. I take. Scheiße. Did I just screw it up? I think he has to take back, then I come here, so that I can always bring my knight back again. Yep, so I think I come here now. Damn, this is, I should have come here. Why did I come down? I should have stepped here. So that was a bit of a blunder. But at least when he comes here, I've got check. And then I can come here after that. Or take this pawn. So I think we're still good. So check. He goes there. Well, we can come here. We can come here, and why not? Whew. Yeah, very tricky. But I think just should just be a draw. Like in all these cases, should just be a draw. But it's really tricky. And maybe he's going to be the one to screw up just a little. So let's see if he wants to do that in some respect or other. Why don't I give him a check right now? Is that not a checkmate? Am I missing something, or is that checkmate? Obviously, I've missed something. No, I haven't missed anything. That's checkmate, people. That is checkmate. Oh my goodness me. I'm pretty happy with that game. Not that I played, I think, amazingly. And if you look, the computer says I made 4 mistakes, but no blunders. That's good, no blunders. So 4 mistakes obviously isn't great. But what I do like is that I think I used my time in mission critical positions well. And at the start where it wasn't necessarily mission critical, I was basically trying to play a bit quicker. And yes, I ended up being low on time, but the position once I was low on time was relatively playable and relatively good. And it really was mission critical. I think I was in danger a lot of times in this game, like mortal danger. But as a result of using some of that time, I managed to come up with relatively decent defenses, I think, for the most part. And that kept the game going, and it kept me alive. It kept me alive, and I was able to win the pawn back and I think get into a relatively drawn position. Probably he was still winning, but it was close enough that the game could keep on going and I didn't just get knocked out. So that's good. And of course, in the end, as you saw, he actually probably surprised himself. He somewhat surprised me that in what was a position where it seemed to me like this is just all draws, none of us can do anything, but he probably just pushed a bit too hard, and all of a sudden, wait a minute, a simple pawn move from a position that was completely dead drawn suddenly becomes game over, you've been checkmated. So that is pretty nice. The knight taking away this square, the pawn taking away this square, the pawns taking this square, the king also helping. I got to say, I'm pretty happy. So let's go back and have a look at it. We made 4 big mistakes, so have a quick click through and see if we can sort of see where those were. I think the first moment of the game that took me by surprise, after castle, he plays this, knight to d, he puts the bishop out, and even right there, the bar is, okay, pretty much we're in his favor. We take, he takes, and b6 was played. He brought his knight down, and this is where I first started to feel under pressure, but actually the computer says it was probably slightly premature for him to do this, and I was starting to wonder this during my commentary of the game, that I didn't think I had done anything wrong at this point, and I really think I haven't done anything wrong yet. So as dangerous as this is, and as easy as it is to go wrong and to do something wrong, I didn't think I had done anything wrong here. And I came up with this defensive idea. And that may have been one of my mistakes, or maybe not. Like maybe an inaccuracy, but haven't given anything away. Haven't given the game away. So he takes a pawn. I move the queen. Maybe that was not so great. And the computer seems to think so. And I did end up experiencing trouble along the c-file because of the predictable rook c1 lining up with my queen. So maybe a better way to do this after he takes the pawn would have been to move the queen this way. But I didn't like that, and the computer doesn't like it either. Like it's because at least in the way that I did it, I was threatening to take and then take here. I don't see any other real way that I can do that. So fair enough. Let's go on. I then moved my queen out of the way. The other move I was considering was to just provide a check first and inconvenience his king. And yeah, that probably would have been a little bit better. Maybe I would have played that if I hadn't actually mouse slipped queen b7, but queen b7 was also on my radar and probably proves the point that when there's a couple moves you're not 100% sure of, but you think that either one of them is the only way forward, and either one of them could be that way forward, just choose one and go with it. Don't agonize it for too long. So I came up with this move, and I am worse. I'm dangerously worse, but the game's not over. And as it played on, he castled, and it looks like he's missed his opportunity there by castling. So what should he have done here instead of castling? Instead of castling, clearly there was something better. Clearly here there was something better. Should he have attacked my queen, which is also an attack on the bishop? Well, then I take, he takes back, and he's attacking my rook and my bishop. But I take the bishop, and if he takes rook, well, then I take bishop, he takes bishop, and he's won an exchange. I think that's probably what he should have done. We'll see. But after he castled, it's very easy for an advantage like that to vanish, and now it's back to all zeros. Okay, I brought my rook into the equation, and that's a good decision. He came after my queen, and my immediate reaction was that probably wasn't great for him, and it's really interesting to see, despite all the pressure I was under, that objectively speaking, I'm fine. You know, And that's what I thought. The game goes on. He still has to prove that he's winning, and he's not. It's very tough fights here. So here I take the knight. And here I thought he was going to take my dark squared bishop. But no, he took the light squared bishop. I think here I'm forced to take his light squared bishop. And in fact, I'm doing okay here. No. Well, so then what could I have done? Could I have moved over this way? I don't think so. So I'm not sure what to think about this evaluation bar, but look, I took the bishop anyway. And the eval is still relatively equal, let's say. And even if I'm under a bit of pressure, it's relatively equal. But here I saw I can take the rook. He takes back. And I can put my rook over here, saving it from the attack from the bishop. And also putting it on a square where, supported by my own queen, I attack his queen. And his queen has to move to also defend the pawn. And now it seems like the tide almost turned a little bit. Just from a practical perspective, I had some play. So I decided to take the c-file. Couldn't see anything much better. I knew that he could attack me, but maybe then we just go for a queen trade. I have an active rook at the very least, and I was just trying to play on. And I think that was pretty nice, from a practical perspective. He tried to attack my queen, but he unwittingly, I think, opened up this hole for my queen, which I just decided, instead of going for the all-out easy queen trade, let's just sit on this file and ask him to come up with better moves. And the computer does not like that move at all. Says that white's a lot better here, but what does white do? Is it because of this move, which I think is what he played? No, he didn't play that straight away. We traded a set of knights, but why was this move bad for me? I don't quite understand. Why was this move bad for me? Is it because he comes here and then he's threatening this? Well, if he comes here with the bishop, what can I do? I can still just go for this queen trade. I don't see what's so terrible. If he moves the queen out of the way, well, then I can bring my knight up here. And if he does attack me, I can go check. And then when he moves, I can take the rook. And after he takes back, give myself a little hidey hole. And I think things are fine there. So I don't see what the problem is. I still don't see what the problem is. We'll have to look at this with the computer in a second, but let's click through again. He got aggressive with his knight, and I decided, well, look, I'm going to take. We'll move his bishop, and then we'll attack the bishop, and we're hoping to actually win the pawn back in this way. He moved the bishop to keep it alive, and here, what did I do? I attacked the bishop again. Maybe not the best move in hindsight, because he did have this nice idea of tucking the bishop away here where it still controls the f8 square. My king can never use that square. But also now he is actually preparing to put a rook here, which is not a move I foresaw. So when I play my next move, I went for the queen trade, and that's good, Good that I did that. He attacks my knight. Basically, as planned, I always had this retreat square. And again, the computer says that I'm so much worse, but I just don't see how that is. It doesn't seem to me that I'm that much worse, although I am a pawn down. So maybe he should just trade everything and we go into an end game where he's got the bishop and he has an extra pawn, and for that reason I'm a lot worse. And I can understand that. But he didn't. And I think that's what happened, is I was a pawn down. I'm offering him a queen trade. Why he didn't? He should have taken it up, and then he's basically got a ready-made rook trade as well, and he's just, like I said, got a bishop against a knight plus an extra pawn, and he should have been better, but he didn't go for the queen trade. That's giving me options. I bring the knight up, putting pressure on this pawn, and that's dangerous because I missed that he has this possibility. But thankfully, because I have pressure on this pawn with a check, I'm still safe. But I thought here maybe he should play a move like this and attack my knight. But even then, my knight comes here, and if he then tries to attack my queen, my knight comes here, and there's a check on the king and a fork on the rook, and he loses the game in that sense. So this knight was actually very imperative to have there. After he offered this trade, I wanted him to instigate the trade, not me. I wanted to use my time to give myself a hidey hole, and you can see it's all zeros at this point. I have managed to equalize. Although he was better, no doubt, He had that early pressure, and I'll be interested to see what I should have done. From here, actually, now I'm a little bit better. And it's because I'm going to win the pawn back, which is nice. Here he attacks my knight, and I decided not to retreat the knight. Maybe I should have. Maybe I, now that I see this, maybe here, there's no check per se, but there is just simply taking this pawn. So maybe this was nice. And when he comes here, maybe I could have done, is there a tactic there? I don't see a tactic there. But I just decided I'll take this pawn. And after he moves, so I saved my knight. And I'm actually a fair bit better here. And maybe it's because I can actually try and get a queen, which I didn't really end up trying to do too hard. Maybe here I should take his... I'm a lot better here. Now, what have I missed? Because I've missed an opportunity here. What have I missed? Is it just going for the throat? Maybe just a5 right away here. I wonder if it's just a5 right away. No, it's not a5 right away. Is it take the rook? Take the rook looks like a good start, and then a5. No, it's not take the rook. All right, we're going to have a look at the computer later, but I made myself another little hole. We trade. We bring the kings in. I try and bring my knight back to safety. I don't want to lose by just losing my knight. My knight comes back. He's actually not really attacking the pawn because it is defended. And my knight can't really be attacked. So what I could have done here was just move my king across. Nevertheless, it's all zeros. It's all zeros. And after the move that I played, it probably still is all zeros. And that's that I took the pawn. So I just went another route, took the other pawn, and now everything is all on this side of the board. And I thought, now I feel a bit safe. My knight can actually just work in this area, and it's much easier to deal with than having a knight come here and then all the way back here and then all the way back here. Meanwhile, the bishop in just one swoop goes here, here, here. So I prefer to have everything on one side of the board. And from here, I just had to bring my knight back to safety again and just keep everything safe. And I thought, here I can just get a draw eventually. And I think that was the case. And that's all I was going for here, is a draw. It still was tricky, and I kind of almost lost my knight at some point, which was... Ooh, here. Could he have won my knight just by simply coming here? I don't think so. I'll simply take here. Then he takes. And then what? I take, he takes. I don't see why I'm losing here. So this can be a puzzle for me to go through later on. That for some reason here I'm losing. For some reason here I'm losing, and I bet maybe a move like this would be fine. No, a move like that's not fine either. Maybe I have to take. Maybe I have to take, and then he can decide how he wants to take back. I imagine probably like that. But I think then I can probably play this move, right? So regardless, I didn't see why I should be losing there. And thankfully, neither did he. But apparently here I'm losing. I take, and I'm losing by a lot here. What on earth? What on earth? Is it simply because of this now? Well, no, now I'm winning. And the reason I'm winning is because I get a queen now. I mean, I suppose that's the reason. You take a knight, well, guess what? Have the knight. I'm going to get a queen. You can't stop it. And I did see that at the time, which is why he had to take, and why I then had time to play this king move. But interestingly, very interestingly, this has been a very insightful analysis for me personally. At the time, I thought to myself, why did I not play this move? I should have played this move instead. Hilariously, they're about as bad as each other. But yes, this move is a little bit better, just to keep him from having any options there. But I needed to do that, because let's say I had done something else. Well, now where does my knight go? Now I can see why I'm screwed, because every square is covered, and he's going to win my knight, and that's just not good. So that's why I had to bring my king a little bit closer, so that if he were to have attacked my knight comes here and I'm defending it. Still, it says I'm much worse, and that's probably why he takes the opposition. I come here. What does he do? Man, these endgames are so hard. What does he do here that's just so good? Maybe he takes aim here. And after I take, he takes. Can I take the opposition myself? He can't move either of his pawns. He has to move the king. Now it's back to a draw. This shit is insane. He's plus 61, but I can't see why. Does he come here? That's a draw too. The only other square he actually can legally go to is this one. That's just, yeah, I guess it does make sense when you see it. There's now no way I can really do anything. Like, what can I do? I can try and wait. If he goes back, I can claim the opposition again, right? So here, what if he pushes? If I just wait, mate and 6, check. He comes here. Now I have to push because I'm stalemated otherwise. Once I push, he comes here. We just both push these pawns, but he beats me to it. And it's checkmate. This is the kind of thing that I think matters more than these little subtle opening subtleties, is that when you get into an endgame where, now you might be like a chess master, international master, grandmaster, something, and you might look at this and say, well, clearly in this position, it's plus 61 for white. But it's very easy for a club level player like myself to say, I don't know exactly here what the best move is. Maybe I should come here. And all of a sudden it's all zeros. The swing potential is huge in the end game. You can go from plus 61 to zeros, or for that matter, like what happened to my opponent, he was literally in such a fantastic winning position, right? But as ended up happening, it suddenly becomes all zeros. And then shortly after that, not only is it all zeros, but he's just been mated. And there was literally nothing else he could do. Look here, it's 0, 0, 0. There's only a few moves that are possible on this whole board. Literally only a few possible moves. And yet, he chooses one of them, and it's a forced mate in 2. What this shows me, this whole game, and there's the checkmate. What this really shows me is that end game matters so much. Yes, to get to an end game, you need to survive. You need to survive the opening. You need to survive the middle. But what it shows is that even when you're under pressure, even when you're worse, you can accept that at the time. You obviously don't want to aim for that. You'd rather be a little bit better and pressing for a win. But if you're a little bit worse, don't lose hope. Push on. Try and make it so that you're only a little bit worse. Maybe you're pushing to equalize. Because if you get into the end game, even if you're a heck of a lot worse, it's just so easy for them to make one wrong step and it swings the whole other direction. And so endgame is where I'm going to spend more time now, I think, in general, leading up to this tournament, so that I don't make mistakes, hopefully, to the same frequency and severity that my opponents will. And then if we get into end games because we've played both careful middle games and neither of us have managed to eke out a big advantage and it's basically even in the middle game, I don't want to be the person that suddenly makes a move that lets him mate me in 2. I want to be on the other side of that. So I'm just going to have a quick look what the computer says were the actual mistakes and what I should have done instead, and then we'll leave it there. We'll leave it there for today. But on the whole, look, not too bad of a game. Not too bad of a game. So let's have a look at the review. So these are all book moves. Nothing wrong with it, nothing wrong with it. All right, and then here we take, he takes. So that's all fine. Now, let me just take this back myself. So this was all perfectly fine for me, perfectly fine. And when he played this, it's actually an inaccuracy, despite the pressure that it put me under. And my response was really nice, really, really nice. Good response. Taking with the bishop was another inaccuracy. But what was I supposed to do? It says that this is a mistake, and a big mistake at that. The evaluation has become plus 1.43. Plus 1.43. And I don't see what I should have done instead. So let's have a look. What should I have done? Ooh, there's the checking move, using this tempo to get a square for my queen to move away to, I suppose. So what happens after that? He goes back. All right, now I'm just going to have to click through that slightly slower. So after the check, his other option would have been he moves the king forward, right? So what happens after he moves the king forward? After he moves the king forward, amazingly, this is saying we can play queen takes c7. Just giving the queen up. Because if he takes, we then take the bishop with check, which was another thing I had noticed during the game, that we might one day be able to do that. And with our other bishop here too, he's completely cut off. And the only thing he can do that makes it not be a checkmate is give the queen back. So we actually take the queen back and we emerge up material. That's a line and a half. And no, I didn't see that. I didn't see that during the game, that when he attacked my queen, I had other options. It wasn't just this or this. I could have gone inserting this as a temporary check. If he steps forward, I can sacrifice the queen to get a bishop, because afterwards I'm also going to get another bishop and then get the queen back before giving the bishop. So that's a beautiful move. Alternatively, after the check, if he doesn't move the king, what if he does it with the knight? What have I got here? Do I have just simply moving my queen out of the way? Well, no, now it says now queen c8 is really nice. And what's the difference? What's the difference here? I would be curious here about a move like, what if he does this? What if he now does this? And the basic fact is you can play this now, which is another move that I had thought of at the time. No, sorry, that's not the move. Knight e4, which is I did think of at the time because you're putting pressure on this, and I thought maybe I would win in an exchange. So that if he castles, well, thanks for the piece. All right, and the only other real alternative there was that he drops this knight back, which gives up on this guy. So now we can play this move, defending this, and also attacking this. And if this moves, we're going to take this. All right. And what happens next? Let's say bishop takes a6. We go queen takes a6. And that's just incredible. So let's say he retreats the bishop back. We can take here, and the game goes on. We can put a rook on the c file, and the game goes on. So yes, those options are all better than what I came up with in the game. What I came up with in the game was this. But that was hard to see. But you know what? That's what you got to learn from. Yes, I'm attacked. My queen seems like it's only got these two squares. But wait a minute. I have a spare tempo in reserve. How can I use that? Even if I had just gone like this, and then maybe just, well, here you sort of need to play this. That makes sense. So yeah, all right, not a problem. That's a good learning point. What's the next part of this game I want to pause at? That was actually a good move. That was good. Good. A mistake there as well. Wow. Okay, so here, How is this even a move? There's this move, bishop takes h2 check. Taking a pawn. And then after he takes back, let's say with the bishop, then you take the other bishop. And in doing so he's just taken a bishop. Yeah, the way that we did it was we took this bishop and then he took this bishop. So you can see that it is better here again, intermediate move. Before we just take a bishop and he takes a bishop, if he's going to win this, why not just throw it away with a check, win a pawn? Well, let's win a pawn before we let him capture. He then captures and then we take here, but at least we won a pawn. I mean, that's beautiful. So both of the things I overlooked in this game so far were intermediate moves that involved check when I was being attacked. So I'm being attacked and I just immediately respond to the fact that I'm attacked rather than first inserting an immediate intermediate move that can be very, very useful. So a bit of a theme in this game, the intermediate move. Think about them. Think about them. But okay, we go on. We did a good thing here to get control of the C file. A good thing to really control it. And apparently, what we should have done actually was go for this queen trade. Now, I thought this would not be so good for the reasons I've mentioned, that if he just trades, I'll put it on the board. If he just trades, are we not simply a pawn down in a position where he's going to have a bishop? Yes, we're attacking this pawn, but after something like rook a1, how do we attack the pawn? What's our knight doing? What's going on here? Okay, we come here, I suppose. That is a good point, that we are attacking this pawn and we're going to get it back. But it looks like it's all zeros. It looks to be all zeros. And that's fine. All zeros is, in fact, perfectly fine. It's what I was trying to do. I was trying to equalize after being under a lot of pressure. But what was wrong with what I did do? Because what I did do was I just took up this square. Well, the problem is here, in fact, that he does have this bishop a3 move, lining this sort of thing up and putting me under a lot of pressure. And here though, why can't I play this queen c2 idea right now? Why is that, any worse now? Well, now he takes, we take back. We're still attacking this pawn. But now he can play this. And I don't see why we can't take, because this is not checkmate. Oh, no, it is checkmate. Even though we bring the knight back, he can take and he's defended by his bishop. So now we can't take. We would have to really take here. And now things have really simplified into an end game where it really is an end game where he has an extra pawn and a bishop. So very subtle there, very subtle. Okay, fair enough. Next, this is fine. That's good. He came back. That was a bit of a mistake. What should I have done there instead? Yeah, just make some room. Would have been better. Just make a little bit of room. Take the chance. Okay. And that was a nice move. That was good. 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 I mean, this is all nice. Just a sec. So this was a missed opportunity, it seems. With this move here, this actually gave me an opportunity to win. So I missed a tactical win here because after check, if he blocks like this, I've got this check. Is that what it is? Knight e2 check. But then he comes here. What's the big deal? What is the big deal here? King f2. I don't see what the big deal is. We go back to a2 with the rook. we're setting up discoveries like this. And the computer says best for him would be maybe king e1, getting out of the discoveries. Now there's knight c1, going after the pawn. And after like g4, well, I guess we can just take the pawn if we wish. And if instead something like he pushes this pawn, now we can take on g2. If instead he had gone e4, looking to bring the king this way, well, I suppose then we have these kinds of checks. Just knight take on d4 with check. He comes close to attack our knight, I suppose. Then we can go back and take on b3. Interesting. I mean, this is hard to calculate. You know, check. If he had come this way, what have we got here? Here it's knight d5, and we're hitting both of these guys. So that's really nice. And if this, as mentioned, check. What if he just moves away now? Well, then we could take the rook. So he comes here, we come back. That's just pretty nice, but hard to see. So that was a tough one. But after the trades, still doing really well. Here it's all even. And I'm feeling pretty good about what I've achieved in equalizing what was really a worse position earlier. And we'll pause it when I've made a big mistake. We'll see what happened, what went wrong. But all of this seemed pretty fine. So why was that so bad? He's played the correct response. So that was a big mistake because he comes here. My knight's running out of space. But I saw I can take here because of the threat of just getting a queen if he comes after the knight. And after he takes back, I can bring my king in. But here, king c6, and we've already, I think, somewhat been through this, is that after the check, he takes, we take, he takes the opposition. Well, we've still got the opposition, so to speak. But after he comes around, it's already gone back to 0. See, I made a mistake there, that in this position he has to play e5. And that's the only winning move, is that in this position he would have to play e5. And in playing e5, it's plus 60. In playing anything else, it's a dead draw. But after you play e5, I can't really afford to let that pawn advance. And actually, I can't do anything. It's all over, really, if played correctly. So that's the kind of thing you want to be able to see and avoid. But anyway, we came up with this. We got the knight back in the game. And in fact, he went wrong. And where he was plus 60 just a second ago, he's now getting mated in 2. 1 and 2. What a game. Not necessarily, a perfectly played game, as you can see. But I think I did well. I managed my time a lot better. I used it in places where I should. I'd like to have more time to use, particularly in the end game. Although it's just so difficult, I need to really try and study end game positions. Using this one is probably going to be a good example. So we can try and study some end games using this as an example. In the meantime, thank you for watching. We're back into the 1700 realm. It was good to get that victory. after a little screw up at the end by this opponent, so to speak. And we'll see you next time. We'll continue the journey and hopefully win the Canberra Chess Club Championship this year, or otherwise, and or reach 2000 rating on chess.com. See ya.